Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. We're back again, joined by George and Simon.
Hello.
Had another entertaining weekend of football, so going to be unpacking it all as always. First and foremost with Premier League, and probably the game of the weekend, really enjoyed it actually, was Chelsea versus Liverpool. 2-1 Chelsea in the dying embers. And I mean, George, I know you've looked over it, but we'll pass it to Dad first and foremost, because he's a Liverpool fan. I thought Chelsea deserved the win, to be quite honest. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I think they were quite relentless in targeting Liverpool's back, the fullbacks, weren't they? So it was really obvious that's where their game plan was, and the goal came down the left with a cross that was put in from the right. So it just summed it up, really. They've got a few issues to sort out there in Liverpool, I think. I'm not sure that the way Canate was playing helped the fullbacks on either side, really, because he was just absolutely dreadful once again. I think the talk of going to Real Madrid has sort of unsettled him, but if he wants to go there, then Liverpool best bet getting rid of him as soon as they can, really, and getting Mark Gay here.
Yeah, but Real are actually sniffing around Gay now, so
Yeah.
we'll see
The thing
that.
that surprised me in that game was every time Chelsea had a defender go off injured, they had another defender on the bench. I mean, their squad must be ridiculously deep.
They've got players who they just pull out from I don't know where, and then my mate who's a Chelsea fan's like, oh, he's like so good, all this, and I'm like, I've never heard of this bloke in my life.
Yeah, no.
And that's from me and yourself, Dad, and George. If you resonate with that at all, we all know a lot about football, so I think that's saying something.
Yeah, it's the squad depth, isn't it? It's so deep, and they just bring on players that you might not have heard of because of you might have just missed one of the transfers just because of how many signings they've actually made in the last couple of years. So it doesn't surprise me that, changes to the back line have been made and they've replaced them with other defenders that are ready to be brought on in a familiar position. I think Reece James played centre half, which I don't know if is his favourite position, but they had Hato on the bench, who came on and did a decent shift as well. And that young Achempong, who started the game, had a really good game when I watched it as well. But about Liverpool, their back line, I've got it here. They changed three changes to their back line in 55 minutes, which shows that Slot wasn't very happy with the defensive performance, especially in the first half. Because if you make three changes to your back line in 55 minutes, there's got to be something going wrong there. And then at the back post for Robertson, you can see him going like this to the bench. He's like, I need to go off. He's done his knee, and he's switched off. But Estevao is completely switched on. He wants to score the goal, and that's, I think, a reason why he gets there in front of him, just because of the fact of Robertson's switched off because he's not fully in the game because of his injury. But Estevao wants to get his first goal in the Premier League, which he did.
Yeah, it was rubbish defending from Robertson. He still should have been able to do better with that, even with a dodgy knee. But yeah, as Dad said, they were really targeting the fullbacks, and they showed a graphic, didn't they, in the game, and it was the starting right backs, I believe, and I think Frimpong started the Community Shield and first day of the season. Then they've had Sobasai there for 3 or 4 games. Then Frimpong started Champions League. Then Conor Bradley, and they've really just switched that up.
Yeah,
game after game almost, and it seems like he doesn't really know what the best option is, and they're trying to shoehorn everyone in, aren't they? I mean, you got something there about Wirtz yet to get a goal contribution. I thought he had 1 assist, but that might have been the Champions League.
Yeah, might have been, yeah.
But regardless of that, he's not been doing very well. And we've spoken more about the bottom league sides, like non-league, and how bringing in such a new squad and so many players, so almost like it is a new squad, can be quite detrimental. And now we're seeing it actually at Liverpool, I think. And
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, it's a bit of an odd one because Liverpool, their transfer policy under FSG has never been one to go out and spend all the money. And I know they had really good net profit, etc., because of the players they sold and they weren't buying loads of people, so they could go out and spend that money. But it seemed weird to shake it up completely and buy all these players, and it's seeming like that the fruit's in the pudding almost. Because I know it's early days, but they're not working very well with each other. I mean, Dad, what do you think about that?
Well, they did spend the money when they first took over, because I think they were responsible for buying players like Andy Carroll when they first took over. So
True.
it's not as if they've not spent the money, but they're just, you can't say they've recruited badly because these are proven Premier League players we're talking about in Kirk.
Yeah.
Frimpong looks a little bit, I don't know, lightweight in terms of his physicality, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think it's more to do with the way they're trying to play football with Wirtz as the fulcrum of what they're doing. And that just leaves them exposed with Salah, who's never been great at defending. So he just seems to be more and more isolated with each game, really. And I know he's going off to the African Cup of Nations in mid-December, so I think that's really where they want Frimpong to play, further up the field. But Conor Bradley got booked early on that game on Saturday. That didn't help. So yeah, they've got real issues to sort out there. But he's already proven himself, Slot. So I'm confident he'll be able to turn it round.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why it's so surprising for me and probably a lot of other people that they bought so many people in, not just because of the owner structure, but they did so well last season. But on Verts, I actually saw something, and he's picking up the ball quite deep in that system,
Yeah.
which doesn't really suit him. Because he wants to be in and amongst the goals and assists and creating, so he's having to create from quite far back. And I saw quite a few clips of where he's actually played people through, but because it's so far back, then they still got quite a lot to do. So maybe not quite utilising him in the best way yet, but I'm sure we'll see the best out of him, and maybe like you said about Frimpong, because it seems the same way with Wirtz. He's not quite up to the physicality. Maybe it's just going to take both of them from Germany a bit of time to kind of adapt.
Yeah.
Arsenal signed a load of players. Moving on to them, they signed a lot of players in the summer, and that's why I think their result was a bit ominous, that win over West Ham. I know beating West Ham was no great shakes, but the fact that they beat them and Saka was back to sort of approaching full fitness as well, I think that's quite ominous, because where you might have looked at Arsenal and thought, when you get into those winter months, they're going to struggle with the squad. That now you can't say that because they've got the depth. They've not got the depth that Chelsea have got, perhaps, but I think they've got depth in terms of quality there.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've recruited really well. We spoke about that before. And if Saka's injured, they've got Martinelli, they've got Eze, they've got Trossard. So it's no longer a problem. And yeah, it could be their year. Really, they've been clowned on for being second the last 3 seasons, but I think they might shut one or two people up this season. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I kind of hope they do, just because of the reason, but fans just kind of take the piss out of them for always finishing second. But I think the quality of the squad can easily win a Premier League title this season. As you said, Sterling, with the attack, they've brought in so many decent, top quality Premier League players to, replace players that are getting injured. Like, for example, Saka is injured, and they brought in Madueke, who had an absolute blinder, but then he got injured, so they brought in the likes of Martinelli and Wanyeri, and the list goes on. So their squad's just sort of getting into the areas of Chelsea's and Man City's of, if top quality players are getting injured, they have the quality on the bench to adapt to that and bring in some really good quality football players into the squad. So it's really good to see. And Saka being on penalties over Gyökeres was an interesting one. After Gyökeres looks like an absolute beast on penalties at Sporting Lisbon, so that's quite interesting to see. But yeah, I think Arsenal's definitely a one to look out for, and I think this title race this season will definitely be a one to watch. With, I think, especially Liverpool and Arsenal, if they keep consistency up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It'd be nice for it to be a tight one, like we've had a few seasons ago. And yeah, I agree with you. I'd like Arsenal. I think I tipped them to win something, not the Prem this year, but I'd like them to win something,
Yeah.
or even the Premier League. Because doesn't look like Brighton are going to do it, and that'd be hopeful. But it would be nice for Arsenal. I quite like Arsenal, to be honest. Definitely more so than Chelsea or City or one of those two. Anyway, yeah, we'll move on. Just touched on Brighton there, didn't we? So might as well discuss that absolute shit show. I mean, naive is the word that comes into my brain when watching that. To take this season already. 3 points against City, point against Spurs. Probably should have been 3 from being 2-0 up. A win against Chelsea away, and then go and draw to Wolves. And then, not to mention the other results, but 1-1 with Wolves on the weekend. What do you think about
that? Poor, lethargic, some words to describe it. Wolves had yet to pick up a win this season. Obviously, we kept that, but it's classic old Brighton. I thought Dr. Brighton was going to come over to cure their illness of not getting a win all season, but JP made sure that didn't happen. But Herzler said in the press how the yellow cards changed the dynamic of the game. I just can't see how for yet. I mean, you get Baleba, but he subbed off at half time. Who else got booked? Was it Weaver, Welbeck, and then someone else? I can't remember, but
that? Kadioglu, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, one of those. But I don't know about it changing the dynamic of the game, because you can make changes. If you think that's going to properly change how the way the game goes, make changes. Do you know what I mean? You make at least 2 or 3 changes from the players that have got booked to stop the dynamic of the game changing, as he mentioned he thought was happening in the second half. But Vitor Pereira's red card was pretty deserved. I don't know if you saw it when the game was definitely just absolutely booted one of the water bottles to God knows where, and then goes over and tells the referee to send him off. But poor performance, I thought, again from Baleba. It's not looking like he's, kicking on. I think the yellow card, I think his general play that game was actually all right. It's just he's getting too many bookings, which is causing him to get yellow cards.
I disagree, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he was rubbish, and that's what I was going to say. I don't think I heard Hertzler's post-match press conference, and I don't buy the fact that it changed the dynamic of the game, because one, I don't think Believer was playing very well. 2, we've got enough depth for players like AR started, but Weaver to go into midfield, or Gomez to go into midfield, or Milner to come on and to be able to control it in the same way. I get that none of them are quite the same player as Belieber,
Right.
but they provide that solidity and that control. They're all able to do that, and Weaver's probably the closest one.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a physical unit. He'll break up play. So I really don't buy that. And Dad, you thought Belieber was shocking, and you can touch on what we were saying about that goal that we conceded.
Oh God, that was awful.
Yeah, it's a dreadful goal to concede. Nobody closed the guy down for the shot. He was a bit unlucky for Bruggen that it came back off his other hand, but
Welbeck.
Well,
yeah, Welbeck's header was just awful.
may as well have passed it to him.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Brighton were just. You talk about Dr. Brighton, but I mean, Brighton for years now have played down to the level of the opposition. It doesn't seem to change, no matter who the manager is.
Yeah.
If that had been against a top team, they would have played much better. The fact that it was against Wolves, they sort of turned up and thought it was a stroll in the park, and they really didn't get going until Milner came on, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't really understand about that goal that Brighton scored was that Simas got the assist for it, because apparently it came off his shoulder. But I
He
mean,
flicked his head.
or his shoulder or his head. But I mean, if it hadn't have hit Van Heck's head, it would have gone out for a throw-in. So how does he get the assist for that? It's much more De Kuyper's assist, isn't it? I don't get that.
Yeah.
You saying that because you got De Kuyper in your fantasy team? Doesn't even have to say anything. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, he said
exactly.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
I do think that's a bit odd, though, and I don't think it's just to
No,
do
I
with the fantasy thing. I think when you've got betting markets that are paying out on things like assists, and De Kuyper is probably one that's got quite a lot of money going on him because he's that sort of quality player that can give those assists, and
Yeah.
then suddenly it's not the Kuiper that gets the assist, but it's Simas because it flicked his shoulder. I do wonder sometimes. I really do.
Yeah. Really, it deserved to be De Kuyper's, but I mean, it touched him last, so I guess that's why they're giving it. But I was really annoyed about the free kick leading up to it because we were just saying how Brighton were in control, right? Needed to knock the ball about a bit quicker, have a bit more tempo. But every time Wolves got the ball, they were going backwards, and you could hear the crowd getting on their back. And it was right on the byline, wasn't it? And he just come flying in, Belieber, and just fucking crunched him. There was no
Yeah.
need for it. There was absolutely no need for it. And if he just stood up, the bloke was not going to get past him, and he would have gone backwards, and the crowd would have got on their backs even more. But instead, he give away the foul. And I said, look, the only way they're going to, I literally, as that free kick was about to be taken, so the only way they're going to score is from Brighton doing stupid things like that and giving them set pieces where something just jammy can happen, which is exactly what happened, or us just gifting them a goal. And there you go. That was that. But rather not think about it, to be honest. So let's move on to another game, Friday night game actually, Bournemouth versus
Yeah.
Fulham. And probably the main talking point is Antoine Semenyo. I mean, what a player!
Wow.
Bagged to brace. I've got some of his stats here for the season compared to other Bournemouth players. He's got most duels won, 47, most touches in the opposition box, 36, most successful take-ons with 15, most chances created with 10, most shots on target with 9, most goals with 6, most assists with 3. And he's been he's been involved in 81.8% of Bournemouth's league goals
That's
this
mad.
season.
That is
Which,
mad.
yeah, I thought it was a crazy stat. And then
Yeah.
he's second in goals and assists for the whole league. So I mean, wanted to touch on him. Like, what a player! I mean, the second goal was a nice break and a good finish, but the first goal was just
Oh, what a goal.
incredible. Really, he just didn't stop running. Feet were unreal, and then great finish. And he looks like he's got it all, to be honest. Pace, power, dribbling, finishing, and he's really kind of coming into his own as quite an experienced player now.
Yeah, I just give him credit for actually staying at Bournemouth in the first place, just because of, he would have had links, obviously, to go elsewhere, but he decided to stay at Bournemouth and perform at an even higher level, and he's obviously doing that very well this season for Bournemouth. I mean, that stat you've just said, basically 82% of Bournemouth's goals this season have had him involved. That is mental, like crazy stat. And they're sitting in fourth now, and I think it's a massive, massive credit to the board and the transfer plans that Bournemouth had. They lost Kirkes, they lost Hoyson, they lost Zebriani, they lost Kepa, lost 4 players out of their defence, and they replaced them with Diakate, that Jimenez at left back, and other players that Serbian guy.
It?
Yeah, that's it. And then they had that Serbian guy play against us. I don't know his name, but they had him as well. But it's credit to their board. I think everyone doubted them after the window they had, just because of how many key players had left them, and I think that's an understandable thing, just because of the quality that actually went. But they've replaced them so well, and I think it's credit to the manager as well, Iraola, who I would imagine is on a lot of clubs' radar after the way he started the season and how well he did last season as well.
Yeah, I think it was a shock really that Semenyo stayed there, but I don't think he's going to stay there for much longer.
No.
But getting back to what you're saying about the recruitment, the player that I've been really impressed with that they signed is that Adrian Truffat. I think he's been really good, really solid. He's got an assist. He looks like he's slotted in really well to the Premier League. And if you've go back to what we were saying about Liverpool, he's adjusted to a new system. Because I remember when Iraola took over, Bournemouth didn't win for ages, but there was a Spanish journalist talking in the paper saying this is what it's like when he goes to a club, because it's quite a difficult system to learn, but once the players have learnt it, they'll be fine. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The fact that he's slotted in so well speaks of his quality, but also the recruitment at Bournemouth.
Yeah, it is a very well-run club, and there's no surprise that Semenyo wasn't kind of itching to get out or forcing a move, because they had a great season last season and they got a great manager, and as you said about the board, so it makes sense. And they're sitting in fourth place now, and they've just had Clivert come back, who was arguably their best player last season, even better than Semenyo.
Yeah.
And I'm an absolute genius because I put him in my fantasy team, but I did put him on the bench.
No.
7 points on the bench, but he come back with an absolute banger.
A good pick though. Very
It's a good pick. I thought he's back. He was doing brilliant last season. I know he's come on the game before, so I was like, probably come on again or maybe start. Put him in there, and scored a great goal. Really, really good goal. And actually, I think on the weekend, all 3 of Patrick Kluivert's sons scored. One of them's in youth football, one of them, I don't know where he is, France or something. And then Kluivert scored, so that was a funny stat. But we'll move on. Finally, sorry, I was going to say firstly. United 2-0 against Sunderland. They brought in a new keeper. It's probably the biggest talking point of the game. Sene Lamens. Probably butchered that as we do on this podcast. But yeah, kept a clean sheet on his debut. Some decent saves. I only watched the highlights, so might have been some other ones in there, but I think they would have shown them on the highlights. They weren't amazing saves. They're saves you'd want your keeper to make, but probably because United have been so deprived of any decent goalkeeping for the last year or so, they're over the moon, should we say. So yeah, that's good for them. But I do have to say, Sunderland missed some big chances. Talby, I think his name is number 7.
That's big.
Massive chance at the end, and he just fluffed it up. So yeah, not taking anything away from United or the keeper, but I think they rode their luck a little bit there.
Yeah, it looked like it, didn't it? Sunderland have started off the season very well, so in terms of the result for United, it's actually not that bad of a result, just in terms of their league position at the start of the season. But it's a game you'd expect United to win, just in general. So, and then Sesko getting another goal, starting to kind of find his form. I mean, decent finish for his goal. I remember watching, which I thought,
yeah, it was a nice finish.
yeah, it was a decent finish, and obviously you want him scoring goals like that after the money you spend on him. If you're not getting the goals, then it would be very questionable for a striker of that price tag. So, yeah, a good performance from, I think it's Lemons. I might have butchered it myself there, but you want a keeper that makes actual decent saves. So, yeah, what do you think, Simon?
I'm not convinced after one game against Sunderland, quite frankly. I think,
Yeah,
as you
fair
said,
enough.
they would be expected to win the game, and Sunderland had their chances in that game, but I don't think they really worked the keeper all that much. So,
Yeah,
they're
fair.
still finding their feet at that level, Sunderland. Their home form's going to be the thing that will keep them up, not beating teams like United. So, but yeah, I do think they're rotten to the core, United. So this full storm might go on longer. They've got Brighton coming up soon, haven't they? So
Yeah,
that'll probably be when the full storm ends, because Brighton will no doubt take them apart. As we were saying earlier, they will play 100 times better than they did against Wolves. So
Yeah.
Wildly, wouldn't he? Can see it happening.
Yeah, well, we'll move on now to the Championship, and before we get into some of the games, couple of things coming out of the Championship now. First of all, the Watford have actually sacked their manager, Paolo Pezzalano. George, I think you know how to pronounce that. I don't. But yeah, they sacked him. They replaced him with Javi Garcia, who says he's got unfinished business at the club. He's
Yeah,
come back in, with the club sitting in 11th, and then they had 3 wins, draws, and losses on the run up to sacking the manager. So, big movement there. We'll be keeping an eye on that. And then just a stat I wanted to throw in there, because we were talking about Sheffield United. They lost 1-0 to Hull on the weekend, and we're thinking about where's it gone wrong, or what's the problems. Potentially, it's the fact that Hull's starting 11 had 463 league appearances for Sheffield United, and Sheffield United, their starting 11 had 335 league appearances.
right.
So, I mean, I thought that was quite a crazy and alarming stat, and
Yeah,
one that we could potentially just touch on really quick. I mean, that's got to be the root of the problem, hasn't it?
yeah, it seems like it, doesn't it? I mean, not really sure what's going wrong there. I know Sheffield Wednesday have got financial problems, but I don't think Sheffield United have. So,
no.
we were just talking about a really well-run club in Bournemouth, and I think Sheffield United are exposing themselves really as a poorly run squad. I mean, going back to the same manager, I know it's comforting what you know, but I mean, he's not exactly going to introduce fresh ideas there, is he? When he got them promoted, I thought he really did well. They finished, 7th or 8th, didn't they?
They stayed
Yeah,
up, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
and he had that 5 at the back with his centre halves rotating upfield, basically, which is
yeah,
quite
yeah,
revolutionary for Sheffield United, especially in that first season in the top flight again. But yeah, they don't look like they've got much of a hope to me, and that is a really interesting stat. Coventry are going great guns, 5-0, so that's 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 in their last 3 games. Brandon Thomas Asante scored a couple. That got him a call up to the Ghana national squad. So just shows you the strength of the championship, really, that if you can make yourself a name for yourself at that level, you're going to get called up by a national side. So I think that was really good.
Yeah.
Frank Lampard seems to be doing the business there. I think he knows that they need to improve.
mm,
But yeah, crushing Sheffield Wednesday is no great shake. So I think he sort of saw things there that he knows he can improve on. But 27 goals they scored this season, which is double anybody else in that division. So they're definitely,
crazy.
yeah, I think them and Middlesbrough are definitely the front 2 runners.
Yeah,
And I think both of them will will be good Premier League teams.
Yeah, agreed. It would be nice to see both of them up there, actually. Yeah, I've been impressed with Coventry. Aren't they still one of the only unbeaten teams? Correct me if I'm wrong. They were unbeaten, weren't they?
I think they've lost a couple.
Oh, okay, my fault. But yeah, no, very impressive. Loads of goals. And he's got them ticking, like we said last week.
Yeah, mental, isn't it? I'm very surprised actually by how well they're actually doing. As we said last episode, he's a bit of a criticised manager just because of his stints at Everton and Chelsea. But I said it last episode as well. He's a really good quality Championship manager, and scoring 27 goals at the start of this season is credit to that. You know, scoring that many goals speaks words in itself, doesn't it? And it's very hard to do. And clearly, they're very clinical in front of goal with Haji Wright and Brandon Thomas Asante and other players. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but yeah, they look like a really good force going forward and look like a team that's going to be hard to stop at the start of the season.
Definitely, yeah. There were some good games in the league this season, this weekend. Wrexham versus Birmingham. That was a good game. We watched that Friday night, didn't we, Dad? Well, I say it was a good game. It was a good game on paper. It wasn't the best game, actually, when we watched it. You know, Birmingham's game plan was quite evident. They actually started Beadle for the first time, the Brighton loanee, which was good to see him getting a start.
Yeah.
And their game plan didn't work. They were very much so trying to knock it long and then win the ball high up in the opposition's half, in Wrexham's half, in transition, and win the transitions and get chances that way. But it didn't really work. They couldn't get the press quite right. Wrexham played out well. When they did get chances, they didn't take them. And then, you know, the opener, it was the sixth goal Birmingham have conceded from set pieces so far this season,
Oh,
highlighting a very big problem. And it was rubbish defending. Ball comes in, first headers, just free header for the Wrexham player. And then the second one, likewise. And he's just poked it past him. It was too easy, wasn't it, Dad?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed by that game. I think we turned it off towards the end and stuck the Bournemouth game on and saw Semenyo's second goal. It wasn't really impressive at all. They both had settled, I think, for a draw by that stage. I watched both the games when they were in League One, and they were much better quality games. And you can sort of see, watching it now, that the pressure that both the managers are under.
yeah.
I think to produce the results now in League One was to get them up, which they've done comfortably. But now in the Championship, the owners in both those clubs are expecting more. And I think both of the managers are under pressure. I know that at one stage the Wrexham supporters were shouting at Davis that he was going to get sacked in the morning. So
There'd
yeah,
be a lot of people, sorry to cut you off, there'd be a lot of people that would actually be, a lot of managers that would be gunning for those jobs as well. I think there'd
Yeah.
be a lot of people with their eyes twinkling, looking at the prospect of going to one of those clubs.
yeah, and I think now that they're in touching distance of the Prem, the owners are looking at who's going to be their manager that gets them in the Prem and keeps them there. And I think they're both struggling a little bit. And the fact they both settled for that 1-1 after 70 odd minutes was really disappointing. I thought it was a pretty poor game of football.
Yeah, I saw some concerning stats actually for Birmingham. They obviously scored the goal straight away, more or less, in the second half. And their second half stats are crazy. It was their sixth goal in the second half of games this season, and they've only scored 2 goals in the first half. So out of 8 goals scored all season, which isn't a lot, and you think of 27 goals for Coventry, they've scored 8, and 6 of them have come in the second half of games. So that seems to be a big problem. They're not starting games very well, and we know all too well as Brighton fans how frustrating that is as a fan, and how it's just not good because then you're chasing your tail, and you could be a performance that's really good in the second half could only lead to a draw. When if you
Mm.
just started like that, albeit so that can be easier said than done. But if
Mm.
you start like that, then it could be a win. So concerning stats.
Definitely, yeah,
And Birmingham in particular have got a lot of. They've brought a lot of players into that team.
yeah.
So it's that we talked about Liverpool struggling to assimilate players into the team.
Mm.
Birmingham might have the similar sort of problems, but it's not caused an issue at Bournemouth, so it can be done.
Yeah, it can be, and Birmingham have made some really good quality signings as well as Wrexham. So they're two teams that have really top quality Championship players, and you can understand why managers with that top quality with top quality players would be under pressure because they're not like utilising them properly. If you get what I mean.
Yeah,
Like Kyogo for Birmingham, he was in like the Champions League last season for Celtic, banging in the goals for them, and now he's in the Championship with Birmingham.
he was non-existent in that game as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Damari Gray too.
Damari Gray, yeah, it's another signing, and Wrexham have the likes of like Kiefer Moore, bringing that Callum Doyle at centre half from Man City, Issa Kabore on loan from Man City.
I liked him.
At least, yeah, exactly. In the Premier League with Luton a couple of years ago, so it doesn't surprise me that he said that. But yeah, it's just about getting the system right with how good of quality both sides have, because I think if they can get it right, they can definitely push for a playoff spot this season, both teams.
Yeah, I think potentially we overestimated both of them in our
Yep.
predictions early on, but they were right at the forefront of everyone's minds, I think. But Ipswich and Norwich, East Anglian derby. George, you were looking at this one.
Yeah, I was. This game had everything, to be fair. Marcelino Nunes might be one of the biggest shithouses you'll ever see in football. Comes on the pitch, get a massive goal involvement for I think the third goal, and then after the game, runs up to the Ipswich fans and waves the corner flag after being a Norwich player before, and holds up a banner with a Twitter post saying a Norwich fan saying build a statue for Nunes, and then he's holding it up. It's absolutely.
They put him on the programme as well,
Yeah,
didn't
they put it
they?
in front of the programme as well. It was absolute. It was
Oh, I love that.
proper stuff from Ipswich, and they did back it up with a 3-1 win. And another worldie from Jaden Philogene, who we talked about a few episodes. He's got 5 this season now. He looks proper good. And now they're 5 games unbeaten, Ipswich. And Liam Manning at Norwich, their manager they got from Bristol City last season, looks under serious pressure. Fans obviously evidently not happy with losing the first East Anglian derby in 16 years for Norwich. So obviously you'd be absolutely fuming about that. And yeah, fans aren't happy, and you can understand why with a result like that against your rivals.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat. That's the first East Anglian derby they've lost in 16 years.
Yeah.
That's a crazy stat. And yeah, I actually saw the Norwich fans were giving him quite a tough time, and it's no surprise after the start they've made.
Yeah.
But to touch on Philogene's goal, I mean, it was an absolute rocket, wasn't it? And he just seemed nonchalant about it. Probably in the back of, well, hope not, because he'd like to think that he's enjoying his time there, and I'm sure he is. But I think at the back of his mind, there might be a small part of him that knows that he should be playing in the Premier League. So it's a bit below his standard, and I definitely think that. Great player.
I think I've said before, I was disappointed that he went to
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Ipswich. I was thinking that Brighton might sign him, and I think he is destined to play at a higher level. But yeah, you got to love that sort of shithousery down at that level, haven't you? Waving flags at the opposition supporters. I've sort of loved that, and it just testament to the strength of the league as well that it invokes that sort of emotions in players. So yeah, that was interesting to see. They haven't been in the same division for a lot of those 16 years. That's why they're that record's like that, but
Yeah.
it's still
But
one
Do you
of
think even in the season that Ipswich come up to the Prem, season before last, they must have played each other then, and
Yeah.
I would have expected them to have got the win there, but
Yeah.
obviously not.
Yeah, because Ipswich were sort of League One, weren't they, for a while?
yeah, they were.
Speaking of League One, we'll move on. That's a nice
Nice.
get away to that. Luton, there's been quite a lot of noise. Just before you touch on what you've got down there, George, seen that Tom, what's his name? Tom Lockyer.
Tom Lockyer,
Yeah, he's just left the club, but he's
back
more
play.
importantly been given the all clear to play again after, I think it was when they were in the Prem, wasn't it? Going down and suffering a sudden cardiac arrest. It was so huge, really, and love to see that because at one point he didn't know that he was actually going to come back to football.
Has he
Yeah,
got some sort of pacemaker fitted then?
yeah,
I'm not sure. Probably, yeah, but they've done all sorts of checks, obviously, and they've cleared him to play.
Because he did come back when they were in the Prem. He did come
that's
in.
what I say. He came back, didn't he? But
But
like,
then Dave said that he can't play.
yeah. They've they must have proper examined it to make sure he actually can. Because the time he came back from the playoff final was like not that long at all. But this time's been like a whole season and like a few months. So
Yeah,
fingers crossed, especially for him, that he's back playing football and enjoying his football and not having, obviously, we hope, having situations like that happen again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Luton, George, they've made the decision to sack Matt Bloomfield. No real surprise, is it?
Yeah, not a surprise at all. I'm going to talk about quite a lot of sackings, I think, in this episode. But yeah, Bloomfield's had a tragic time at Luton. I mean, failed to keep him up in the Championship when he came in from Wickham, which I still don't know why he left Wickham. He was top of the league, absolutely flying with them, and left to a absolutely dead.
Mud.
left to an absolutely dead Luton side at the time, bottom of the league, and were absolutely useless. And this season they've been useless as well. 11th place in League One with the signings they've made. I mean, they've still got top players that play for them in the Premier League. They've got Ted Mengi, they've got Joel Anderson, Marvellous Nakamba, Jordan Clark, all played in the Premier League for them. And they've got players coming back. I didn't jot down, obviously, because I haven't actually had involvements in the team yet. They've got players coming back that, like Elia Adebayo, still at Luton. And he was absolutely banging in the goals in the Premier League a few years ago. Got, what was it, a hat-trick against Brighton? So I just can't see why.
Yeah, the manager was definitely underperforming there
Yeah,
with that squad. And I saw somewhere that it was only 16 months ago that they were in the Premier League.
yeah,
16 months
mad.
they were in the Premier League and now they're in League One. So yeah, he was definitely underperforming.
And those Premier League parachute payments don't stop just because you got relegated to League One. You're still getting paid out. So they've got absolutely no excuse to be struggling. Absolutely none.
Who have they brought in, George, or nobody yet?
Not nobody yet. No.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. We're going to go on to Dad's favourite topic in a second. I think he knows what's coming. Cardiff 4, Leyton Orient 3. It was a fantastic game. Cardiff went 1-0 up, then it went 1-0. Then Cardiff went 2-1 up. There's 2-2. Then it was 3-2 Orient. And then 3-0 and 4-3 to Cardiff in the 71st minute. But Aaron Connolly on the score sheet again, Dad. And I think he must be listening because he scored again last night
He
in the
scored an
NFL.
unbelievable free kick last night against Crawley as well.
What trophy was that?
EFL trophy.
Yeah, I thought so. And he must be listening because he's looking to come into it. He looks like he's coming into a bit of form.
Good, but if he wants me to phone him up and give him 10 minutes of hate to just motivate him, I'm quite happy to do that.
Maybe he's watching the podcast like a hate watch.
Yeah,
The hate watch. waiting for you to speak about it.
Just DM me, Aaron, and I'll give you a ring.
But yeah, Cardiff third now, still really, because they've been in and amongst it, haven't they? 2 points off Stevenage in first, but Stevenage have a game in hand, so that was a good result for Cardiff. And I picked it out mainly, not even to speak about Connolly, but mainly to talk about Orient. They sit in 18th, but surely that game, I mean, away at Cardiff's a very hard place to go traditionally, and this season for any League One side.
Yeah.
So for them to, keep fighting from 1-0, 2-1 down and then go 3-2 up and even just be that in the game, surely that shows that they could compete, and they really are underperforming.
Yeah, I think it does. They're a good side. Still got, I think it's Richie Wellens at the club. Might have said his son who's playing for them at the minute. Might have gotten confused, but yeah, the manager got him into the playoffs last year, and it's not like the manager doesn't have the quality to get the squad there. He's clearly got the managerial mindset to get a squad into those positions, if you get what I mean. So it's confusing, but I completely agree with you that they can compete because I think they're capable of, because of, you get in the playoff places last season, it just doesn't go just in a flash, does it? So I think they're capable, and credit to Aaron Connolly getting on the score sheet again. Absolutely love it. And no, Simon's nodding his head, but I hope he keeps scoring because that will be something to watch out for.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at their lineup, and I don't actually know any of the players other than Connolly, but that Ballard got a goal.
What a goal! Did you see it?
I didn't actually.
Oh, what a goal on his weaker foot. There's someone in the crowd said, "Why are you shooting with your left foot?" And then he shoots with his left foot and absolutely raps it into the top bins. It's so funny.
Yeah, I love it when stuff like that happens. But I think I've seen him potentially on the score sheet a couple of times this season, and
Yeah.
they're playing a free back, which since we've been doing this podcast, I didn't realise how many teams in the EFL are playing free back. But it seems like every other team is playing with a free back. But yeah, I think they really need to keep pushing it up, otherwise that'll be another manager getting sacked.
Yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
expectation management at Orient, frankly. I mean, I know they got into the playoffs last season, but, they were a National League side back in 2019, albeit they smashed the division to go up as champions. So, and it took them 4 years to get through League Two, and traditionally they've always been playing at this level, in the third division. I think they had one season in the top flight way back in the 60s, but yeah, expectation management. I want to talk about the game at Stockport really because, at Huddersfield, where they beat Huddersfield Stockport with a goal from a guy called Odin Bailey. And I just wondered if there's been any other professional footballers called Odin, but I looked it up. And there's a guy at Celtic that's on loan at Los Angeles called Odin. And there's another guy somewhere in the Norwegian league called Odin. But what's remarkable about that game was that Huddersfield, Stockport County went down to 10 men after 58 minutes.
Oh,
Tyler Onyanongo got sent off.
Oh, I butchered that.
another one for the butcher list.
I tried that. I was practicing it. He got sent off after 53 minutes anyway, and then Odin Bailey popped up in the 78th minute to get the winner. So it puts Stockport up into the top 10 and in contention with playoffs. And Huddersfield really should be doing much better. That was a really poor result for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on Huddersfield before, haven't we? That they're kind of underperforming this season.
Yeah, I think they are. I think Lee Grant's coming into management for the first time in like the EFL and just Football League in general. But, for a manager turning player, I mean, he's not done horrendously. I mean, in the playoff places, you've got a chance of getting promoted with that, haven't you? So it's not been an awful start from them, and they've got good quality. Huddersfield, Alfie May, who absolutely banged the goals in a few years ago in this league. And they've got other quality players like Finney and Harness and Wiles just behind Alfie May. But you've also got Stockport with a lot of good quality as well. Ollie Norwood, who we know from Brighton, on the score sheet again. I'm pretty sure he started off the season pretty well
Yeah,
for them. So that's
2 goals and assists, I think.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, good to see from him. Must be getting on a little bit, mustn't he? But yeah, I think both teams might have a chance of getting into a playoff place, because Stockport were in contention last season, and Huddersfield obviously not a Premier League side a few seasons ago. So it wouldn't surprise me to see both of these teams battling out in playoff contention, and I think that's the reason why it's a really good 3 points for Stockport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, leads me on nicely to kind of a top of the table clash in League Two.
Mm.
That I wanted to speak about: MK Dons 3, Gillingham 2. Both of them are sitting in and amongst the playoff places. Gillingham in 4th and MK Dons in 7th, and it was a statement of intent really for the Dons. They went 3-0 up in the game, and 2 late goals weren't enough for Gillingham to make a late fight back. But yeah, I think we touched on MK Dons and said we think they're going to be thereabouts. Decent team. They've got that, what's his name, Mendes Lang. He scored.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a decent team, as I said. They've got decent support, decent ground. So that was a statement of intent against a good Gillingham side, who, again, we've spoken about, who have had a really good start.
Yeah, they have, and I think I mentioned it last episode. I think that must have been the end of their unbeaten run, which I mentioned last episode.
Yeah, it was. So two
Yeah,
losses on the bounce.
yeah, so that's obviously credit to MK Dons. Obviously, they're massively in form, Gillingham, after such a big unbeaten run under Gareth Ainsworth, and they've got really good quality in amongst the squad. Patterson up top as well for MK Dons, who I said at the start of the season would probably bang in the goals for them, and he's, I think, doing a decent job there. And Gillingham, have Bradley Dack, who I mentioned last episode as well, who's a top quality player. So both teams have real statement players in their sides that you think, oh, he's going to be like a player to look out for today, just because of the quality they have in higher leagues, especially
Yeah.
that for Blackburn a couple of years ago. And Patterson, obviously, in 2018-19, was a Premier League striker. So it's good to see players from the Championship and the Premier League still performing in the EFL, and both teams have that in their squads. And MK Dons getting this 3 points is a statement of intent of they want to go up this season after battling in League Two for a couple of years now.
Yeah, shows the quality of the pyramid, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Gillingham are one of those clubs that got an American owner as well, which seems to be the fashion these days. A guy called Brad Gallinson. He's put over £3 million into the club to sort of wipe off debts and get them competing. I think historically they had quite a high wage bill, so he's trying to rectify that. So it's no real surprise to see them up there challenging.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. You wanted to speak about Walsall. We're talking about top of the table.
Yeah, they got a good win over Bristol City, quite hard fought win, but
Right.
Sorry?
Bristol Rovers.
Bristol Rovers.
Sorry, yeah. Aaron Presley scored a couple of goals for him. He's someone that was originally at Brentford as a youngster, and his career's been sort of stop-start really. He's been loaned out and played a few games, scored a few goals, but not really managed to get a consecutive, decent run in the side. So he might be one to watch because he looks quite good. Their defensive record also is amazing. It's 8 goals conceded in 11 games.
Well, that's very good.
Unbelievable.
And I know we spoke about it in the preview prediction show. We spoke about Walsall and the fact that they collapsed last season.
Yeah.
Going into game 41 last season, they were first, and they
Yeah.
somehow ended up fourth because they just couldn't win a game. They won the very last game of the season, but they couldn't win a game going into the final stretch, and they're at top for a long, long time, and then just bottled it really. And you just wonder whether that might be happening again with them. I hope it isn't. It's good to see them back on the top.
Yeah.
I mean, historically they've always been a sort of League Two side, League One. So, but I
Yes.
remember Brighton playing against them years and years ago. I think it might have been League One the year Brighton went up.
Yeah.
It was probably the last time they played them.
Yeah, they've got the same manager there, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't think they got rid of him.
Yeah, because that's the manager that was under pressure there. As you said, after their defeats near the end of last season, which caused the manager to be under so much pressure. And I think he's proven quite a lot of fans wrong just because of how well they're doing at the start of this season. You know, he would have been under pressure for how much they bottled it at the start, at the end of last season, and obviously eventually losing in the playoffs. So I think it's credit to the manager that he's, kept the faith in the players after such a torrid way to go out and stay in the division. So it's credit to them, and they've got some good players scoring all over the pitch. I've got on my computer here, so looking like a really good squad going into the season, and definitely will be up there like they were last year.
Absolutely, yeah. Last game we wanted to cover, George, you were looking at Cheltenham, new manager and all.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Cheltenham. We've slated them, haven't we, for the start they'd made under their former manager, who eventually got sacked. And they brought in Steve Cottrell, who we talked about last episode, how he could change the dynamic of the club. And it looks, I think I sent it to you, Sterling, didn't I? How much he was getting involved with the fans, proper like getting them going,
Yeah, he was loving it.
loving the badge and all sorts of stuff like that. And I thought that was really good to see. He's back at the club for the first time since 2002. So he's clearly been dotted about the English football pyramid since then. He was there from 1997 to 2002. So he returns to the club where they've obviously have had a horrific start to the season. It moves them out of the relegation zone for, it must be the first time this season, and it's just their second win of the season and their second clean sheet of the season. So, it's credit to Steve Cottrell, and I think if he gets the squad going under the system he wants to play, because he's obviously had a lot of experience in higher leagues previously, so players like Isaac Hutchinson, who I talked about a few episodes ago, how he went from a really good, I can't remember who he played for again. I did it last time I talked about him, but I'll pick myself again. But yeah, he was on loan. He's on loan at Cheltenham from the club that I can't remember, and he got a goal and assist in the game against, I think they beat Fleetwood 2-0. So yeah, that brings him to 4 goals and 1 assist in the season so far. So he's clearly a player to look out for in that Cheltenham squad. And I think if Steve Cottrell, with his managerial experience, he can get this Cheltenham team back to where they sort of would expect to be in this League Two table. Because I wouldn't, obviously we predicted them to go down, but they shouldn't be in that area of going down at all, in my opinion.
Was it Bristol Rovers that you're thinking of?
Bristol Rovers, thank you, Sterling.
Yeah, thought I'd save you. Yeah, big win for them, 2-0 at home. It's just their second win of the season as well, so we'll have to keep an eye out on them. But we'll move on to National League. Wanted to speak about Woking, because I know fella at work would appreciate it. And it was an interesting one as well, because there's a bit of a, well, don't want to sound too harsh, but relegation fodder clash. Woking 2, Truro 2. And my two main takeaways were, one, that it shows the competitiveness of the league, and second, that these are probably two teams that are going to be near the bottom, because Truro are, I think, 23rd, second bottom, and Woking are sitting in 18th, and wasn't much to separate the two. Woking went 1-0 up in the first half, 25th minute opener, and then they just couldn't build on it. And Truro must have thought they had won it, scoring in the 77th and the 87th minute. And then 2 minutes later, Woking go down the other end and get a penalty, which they converted. So, seemed like a good game for the neutral, but it's a bit surprising because would have thought Woking would have pushed on a little bit more, bit of a stabiliser season last season, but it doesn't seem like they are. And we spoke a couple of episodes back, maybe a few now, about Jake Forster-Caskey coming in, and there was one other player. Don't know if you remember, George.
On loan at Wimbledon, he was on loan from Wimbledon. I can't remember who it is, but
Yeah, but like a couple of good players.
Yeah,
Jake Forster-Caskey only came on in the 79th minute for Woking. So I imagine he's not fully fit, to be honest, but
yeah.
yeah, it was frustrating from a Woking point of view. I'll have to speak to Rohan, shout out to him at work, and get a bit more inside the knowledge, because he goes home and away for Woking.
Good.
Yeah, he loves it, the boy. And trying to find out what's going on there, really. But they have got a good fan base, and I mean, I know that the last day of the season they all went there in fancy dress, so it's no fault of the fans. But for Truro, it's a big result, actually.
Yeah.
You know, that those are the games where they're going to have to pick up points, and they were unlucky, really, to not go away with the win.
Yeah, I mean, Truro just kind of hanging on, trying to pick up as many points as they possibly can, really. And as you said, I think they would have taken a point before the game had started. But yeah, hearing you say Jake Forster-Caskey not coming on surprises me, because we know from watching him at the Albion that he's definitely got the quality to really get that team ticking at Woking. So yeah, it does surprise me that you said that. And 18th place so far wouldn't surprise me if the manager's under threat, because you would expect Woking to be a little bit higher up the table.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah,
I think Woking really should be further up the table, but it's good to see Truro doing well.
yeah.
It's obviously been a bit of a culture shock for them getting into that level of football. But yeah, Woking definitely underperforming.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch briefly on Southend because they had a good result. They beat Aldershot 3-0. That's a third consecutive clean sheet. So I think at that level, you're looking to be consistent, and that sort of consistency has got them up into the playoff spot. So they're one to watch because they are definitely a full-time professional club. So Truro trying to compete against that sort of club is going to be difficult. But if they can pick up results against Woking, who probably aren't full-time professionals, then that's really where they got to live, Truro. But Woking really, they've played at this level for a long time. They should be pushing to get themselves into the Football League, I think. But Southend, it'd be good to see them back in the Football League, because traditionally we're a Football League side, as we know, Sterling, from that infamous League Cup match.
Yeah, absolutely love that away day. Yeah, we spoke about them, didn't we? They should be back in the Football League, and they're definitely one we'll be rooting for. Wow, it's such a good away day there. We went on that pier. I was shit scared.
Yeah.
But we touched on it before in one of the previous episodes.
We were 2 rows back, and I said to Sturt, because this is a long time ago, you were quite young, and I said, you're going to see what it really is, what a professional game is like in terms of what goes on in the penalty area, because you don't see the half of it when you watch it on telly, and it was absolute carnage.
It was.
If there'd been VAR and the referee at Stockley Park had been going through it frame by frame, virtually every ball in the box would have been a penalty.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Southend. I like Roots Hall Stadium as well. Big up. I have a nice
Yeah,
team back there.
shout out to Southend. Yeah,
Yeah. Right, let's move on to the last game we'll cover for National League. Yeovil. I mean, more so, Boreham Wood. 3-0 against Yeovil. Don't want to speak much about how poor that is for Yeovil. Obviously it is, but more so, just that's amazing for Boreham Wood, and they're doing so well.
yeah. I just wanted to talk about it because I bigged up Yeovil so much last episode.
Yeah,
They go get thumped 3-0 by what's been an absolutely incredible start from Boreham Wood. I mean, I've said it loads of times, I think, but they only just about got in the playoffs last season in the National League South. And I said at the start of this podcast in general in the National League South episode, if you haven't watched it, go ahead. You might want to have a look. But if you want to see me slate Luke Garrard as a manager and put Boreham Wood down, have a look, because he proved me massively wrong this season after struggling last season, and he's absolutely smashing it up into fourth in the league. Are unbeaten since the first game of the season, which I think is a mad stat. Only lost
yeah,
one game in general, but the one game they have lost was the first game of the season. So yeah, unbeaten away from home all season, and they've got the most amount of goals in the league with 25. Matt Rush on 7 goals, so he's banging in the goals for them. So massive credit to Boreham Wood, who've proved me wrong, and probably all of us, just in terms of how low we put them down, but especially me, because I put them in a relegation spot and sort of slated the manager saying he wouldn't be good enough for this level.
yeah,
So
100%.
massive credit to Boreham Wood, and I hope they keep on proving me wrong in fourth place. And the way they're going, obviously being unbeaten since the start of the season, you can't see them getting stopped at the minute.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I really do. And I think the main thing for Boreham Wood is going to be whether they can maintain,
Yeah,
because we know from um, even last season in the National League with York just missing out on automatic promotion
yeah,
and then missing out in the playoffs, and then how competitive it was for the National League South sides as well. Just how much like you really have to keep pushing to the end, like massively, massively. Just have to keep pushing because you never know what's going to happen, and it gets so congested in there. Like I think what was it for the National League last season? Like maybe a point in it that York
yeah.
didn't show up automatically.
Mental, yeah. It
Because
was,
it's just the one automatic place, isn't it?
yeah,
Then playoffs, and I think it was 1 point. So you have to be up to those standards all season, and yeah, they started incredibly well, but that's going to be the question, isn't it?
yeah. Consistency is key in that league, and if they can keep that consistency up, you can't see him being outside of a playoff place, can you?
Definitely. They know how to do it in the playoffs as well, but we'll move it on to National League South. Yeah, some big movement with Worthing. Actually, I just don't know where to even begin with this, because if you didn't watch a couple of episodes ago, I said it's time to go for Chris Agata, the Worthing manager. And somehow he's handed himself a job in the National League at Sutton United, and to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how he's got that job. If he's listening, yeah, I'll back it, because I just don't know how you were doing that poorly with such a good squad at Worthing, and now he's handed the Sutton United job. I don't know.
What do you think, Simon? Go on.
No, it beggars belief, really. I wasn't surprised to see him leave Worthing, but the fact that he moved up to Sutton is just bonkers, really, isn't it?
That's it. I saw. I saw like because they did the corner flag post, and it was like said something about Chris Agger. I was like, oh, he's gone. Like, I knew it. He's fucking gone to Sutton United. I couldn't believe it. And I don't think they're going to do that good, Sutton. They've had a poor start to season already. They're in 22nd in the National League, and the way he played football with, or how he got Worthing playing football, albeit they did very well under him last season. But we watched it and it wasn't very pleasing, was it?
Wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't very pleasing, and it's clearly not been working this season. So very, very interesting result. But not result. Sorry, very interesting turn of events there, and on the weekend they had Aaron Rakine.
Racine.
Hey, we're terrible on this podcast, but he took over anyway as temporary manager in a 1-0 away defeat to Maidenhead. So the woes continue, but potentially we spoke about it, didn't we, George? The return of Adam Hinshelwood, and that would be brilliant for Worthing and the league in general. I mean, he's left York now, so he's a free agent. I think he probably lives down here as well.
Yeah, he
With
was.
Jack, and obviously Jack Hinshelwood being his son at Brighton, and living in Worthing and working there before. I think that would be the most likely candidate for the job, and I really hope so as well.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? Obviously Adam Hinshelwood nearly got York promoted to the League Two last season with York, so obviously has quality in this league, which is the reason why he got the move to York in general, and then obviously showing it in the National League. So it would be a massive, massive appointment, and definitely a statement appointment if Worthing were to get him back in, because they've missed out on playoffs on promotion for so many years now, so many seasons, and I think if they bring in Adam Hinshelwood, it will be a real statement of the league. Like, we're here to go up. Like, we're going to push on now, because they've still got a lot of players that were with Adam Hinshelwood a few years ago, so it's not like they're clueless to how he wants to play. And then they've got other players coming in like Razak Coleman de Graaf that we rate very highly on this podcast. So I think that's the dream appointment. But Chris Agutta getting the move to Sutton, I mean, he drew on the weekend 0-0. Doesn't surprise me with the football he plays, getting a 0-0 draw. But yeah, can't see it going well there at Sutton, but I think it might be beneficial for Worthing, to be honest.
Well, it'd be good to see Hinshelwood back at Worthing, but I mean, they were going great guns when he jumped ship to York. I just wonder whether they'd be so keen to get him back in there,
Yeah, they maybe have a bit of taste in their mouth about it. See what you mean? But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And there's been another managerial departure this week with Matt Gray leaving Eastbourne Borough. George, you know all about this one.
Yeah, interesting one, to be fair, because, well, not really in terms of the results. He's probably deserved to get the sack after not actually winning a league game in charge of the football club, which is pretty poor going, is it? Not even getting a win. So
Yeah.
It's been a tragic time for him at the football club, and they've scored the second least amount of goals in the league. And I said it a few episodes ago about fans that go to watch Eastbourne Borough week in, week out. Apparently, it was just like proper Route 1, pick up the second balls and stuff like that. Fans weren't happy with the way that they were playing. And I've always noticed it since they made the signings. I noticed it when they were bringing the players in. You can just notice how so young that squad is. There's not a lot of experience involved in that team. And, it's the fact of when you're young, it can be quite complicated and a little bit more complicated to get into a system, if you get what I mean. It's a bit more confusing. That's a better way of putting it. So it must have failed. They mustn't have got into the system he wants to play, because he had been in leagues above before, and I can't remember who promoted, but he got someone promoted from the National League North, I'm pretty sure. So it clearly just hasn't worked there. And I mean, I wanted to talk about Arthur Grout, who is a 17-year-old midfielder for Eastbourne Borough, who I want to give credit to Matt Gray for actually bringing him up to the first team, because he looks absolutely brilliant. Young talent. He looks like the new kind of Fletcher Holman that might be moving on to a big EFL or Premier League club. He scored an absolutely unreal dink away at Ebbsfleet on the weekend. Audacious chip over the goalkeeper in front of the away fans. So credit to him, and Arthur Grout, that's quality. I think we should go out and watch an Eastbourne Borough game soon, especially now they've got a new manager. We'll see who that is, because that's another new manager. What's it? Matt Beard. Who was the one before? Who we watched last season? I can't remember his name now.
The one with the Jesus.
Yeah,
Can't remember.
Murray, something.
Yeah.
And then now that Matt Gray. So that's 3 managers gone in the space of, is it what, 1 or 2 seasons? Space of a shorter period of time, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, absolutely.
you need a manager that stays at the club for a long stint, so you know the identity of the football club, and it's going to be another managerial change again for Borough, and hopefully the new manager can, get them near the playoff places, because that's where we all predicted them to be, and it's where they should be.
Yeah, it's no surprise to see him sack him, really, and we'll try to get out there soon enough. Lastly, then, Dad, you're looking at Chesham United crushed Enfield Town 4-1.
Yeah, it's really just stood out to me that they've started to get a little bit of consistency. It was the biggest win of the season and pushed them back off into playoff contention, because they stuttered after a really promising start. So I think from memory they're playing either Eastbourne or Worthing towards the end of the month. So we'll pencil that one in, I think, to go and see them.
Yeah, be about time we get out to a Worthing game, I think, or even Eastbourne Borough, because we've done 2 in the space of no time last season. So, yeah, we'll have to make that happen. And then final league we're going to cover is Isthmian Premier Division. Saw FA Trophy action in this league. We've spoken before about how it could be really important, this competition, for teams in the league, but also maybe a little bit of a distraction as well. So we'll move straight into the game, shall we? Lewis knocked out at home after a 2-1 defeat. Not a great result.
Nah, didn't think so, and haven't kept a clean sheet in 5 games now, so that's kind of a concern for Bradley Pritchard. I mean, last night they played in the Sussex Senior Cup, but against Roffey, but they just played their under 18, so that's why I didn't really include this as a game, because obviously the first team didn't play. So yeah, but they're near the playoff places still, so it's not like a frightening like run of form that's going on there, but it's just a concern that they've lost to Leiston. I don't know if they're the same level, might be the league below, but clearly FA Trophy for a couple of clubs in this division isn't a competition that they want to take like fully seriously. They want to go full in on the league, and obviously Folkestone and Invicta, who've got Southend away on the weekend in the FA Cup 4th qualifying round, so obviously they'll be taking that very seriously, because first round of the FA Cup is massive for any football club at this level. So yeah, but I think it's quite an interesting system that he plays, isn't it? Pritchard plays quite a good style of football. So they've brought in a couple of signings recently. So it could be the fact of the squad adapting to the system that Pritchard wants to play. It's obviously a slow process. You don't suit into a manager's system straight away, do you? It takes a long amount of time, which a lot of football managers say, obviously, because it is true, to be fair to them. You don't get players suiting your system inside 5 minutes, do you? So yeah,
Yeah,
factor of that, but I don't think it's an emergency for Lewis. I just think not keeping five clean sheet a clean sheet in 5 games and winless in their last 5 could be a a little worry for them in terms of their form.
The big concern for them really is that the talk around the club of financial problems and going out of the FA Cup and then now the FA Trophy at the first hurdle. It is really poor because even if you're not getting the match day revenue, you're getting money from the FA for both those competitions for progressing.
Yeah.
I mean, Leiston are step 4, so they're division below and a step below Lewis. Not going particularly great guns in the Southern League Central, so it's really poor result getting beaten at home by them, I think, for Lewis. Really disappointing and quite concerning.
And as you said, George, what my take on it is, Pritchard is trying to implement quite a complex style there. As you touched on, it's not like the easiest. So I do think it will take time. And my mate Steph, who was the first team analyst, he's buggered off to Australia. He's enjoying himself out there, but maybe that's part of the reason. They've not got their first team analyst ciphering through everything. So yeah, Steph, if you're listening, the Rooks need you back, mate. Yeah. But we'll end on Dad's point. I just wanted to touch on very briefly. Royston nil, Welling 3.
Yeah.
Big result for Welling. They're gonna be looking to get up the table, and it was probably a nice time for it to come to get away from the league, get a result in the FA Trophy. Lee Martin's just left earlier in the week, manager. So good good win for confidence for the side and for the club as a whole. And then Femi Akinwande actually scored his first goal for the club, which was massive. Yeah, absolute baller, and they'll be hoping that he can kick on really, and they're going to need him too if they're going to get anywhere near the playoffs, because they've got quite a way to come back. I mean, I don't think they've won a game in the league. So
big time, aren't they? But
we do know that you can get up there quite quick, but that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it'll definitely be tough. And touch on Lee Martin.
Oh hell! We got a chopper flying past.
Leave
that in the edit.
That in the edit. No, but Lee Martin, it's a deserved sacking, isn't it? Really, they haven't started off well. We all had them near the playoff places, obviously, because of them being relegated from the National League South. You can't really put a National League South side that's been relegated near the bottom of the table, can you? Unless, obviously, like we've said a few times, it's so hard to predict this league. And myself, I would have never predicted Welling to be this far down the table at the start of the season. So, yeah, it's not a surprising one. And I think they brought in like a temporary manager of their manager that they've had before. I can't remember his name, but they've brought in for a temporary amount of time.
That was right.
Yeah, they can find a replacement to obviously suit the football clubs, because it's been a tragic start to the season in the Ishmael Premier Division.
Yeah, and then finally we'll end on Chichester back into action after tragic death of Billy Vigar. Dad, you were doing a little bit of research on this.
Yeah, I read the match report and saw the pictures from the game, and they looked like they enjoyed themselves. They're quite a young side, and it was good to see that they were enjoying their football. So some sort of distraction from what went on, because they found it difficult to get back playing. The more I read about this, the more angry I get, really, because this isn't the first player that's hit one of those walls. There was a guy, I forget his name now, but about 2 or 3 years ago, he did exactly the same. And luckily he didn't die, but he ended up being permanently deaf because of the neurological damage that he suffered. And at the time, the FA said they were going to investigate the whole issue, and they basically did the investigation, found out that the runoff around the pitches isn't long enough, and were told that that is something that needs to be addressed, and done bugger all about it. The FA regulations say at semi-professional, professional level football, your pitch has to be surrounded by a permanent barrier. So you can't just have nothing there. So that, obviously back in the day, people built concrete walls around there.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually stipulate what the minimum runoff should be. Now they're recommending that it should be 1.83, I think. But most clubs try to aim for more than that, and at professional level, it's 3 metres.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it says in your notes, it says 1.83 as a minimum and then 2.7 as the recommended.
Yeah, and then you go to a Premier League ground that's newly built, like the Amex, it would be 3 metres. You
Yeah.
just can't, it mystifies me and angers me that the FA, with the resources they've got, can't invest in grassroots football. They don't invest enough in grassroots football anyway. We could talk about this till their cows come home. But if it's players' safety that's at stake, they should be doing it. They should be saying to clubs like Wingate and Finchley, we've been to your ground, we've inspected it. You can't have that hard wall there. We need to move your barrier back. We're going to give you the money to move it back so that you've got I don't know what the runoff is at Wingate and Finchley. I couldn't find out, but they should be saying we're going to move it back and we're going to make it a permanent surround, but it's going to be a safe surround, and we're going to move the runoff. We're going to move it back so the runoff is better.
Yeah.
And it just, it annoys me that it's in the news and it captures people's attention, which it should do. But then when you actually read into it, it's just the same old cycle going around and around and again, and nobody's paying attention to the player's safety. And I think that is something the FA should be called out about.
Yeah.
I mean, Wingate and Finchley have said they're going to put a plastic matting around the side of the pitch to try and stop it happening. But we've all played football, even at the levels we played them at. We know that if you're hurtling off the pitch, plastic matting. I've watched baseball day in, day out, and there's some baseball grounds where they've got plastic matting in front of concrete, and people break things all the time because it does absorb some of the shock, but you still are hitting a brick wall at the end of the day. There's no giving it at all.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, really, and it's makes me angry as well that those, obviously what happened to Billy, and I didn't know about the other incident where the guy's gone permanently deaf. It's just ridiculous that these things. Well, that happened in the first place. Then they've not done anything, and this happened recently to Billy Vigar, and now they're still not really doing anything about it. It's a joke, really, and we'll end it on that. The FA need to sort it out, and that's our call to them, really. I think that's a poignant way to end it.
Yeah, you need to see it happen. It's something that you can't just brush away. I mean, a circumstance like that, you can't just brush that away and think, "Oh, it's fine then." Someone's died from that circumstance. How are you not sorting it out instantly? If someone's in a life or death situation where they have a possible chance of dying on a football pitch, you would think you would sort that out in a matter of days and just hours in general. So it's concerning, and it's not a surprise that Chichester has lost. I mean, players wouldn't have fully recovered, but still credit to Farnham Town. I think they're in the FA Cup fourth qualifying round themselves, one of the only teams below this level to be in that. So good luck to them. I think they've got a home draw to a National League side. I think it's on TV, so I might have to tune in for that. But FA need to get on that because we don't want to see circumstances like this happen again.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and there's some games coming up, like Forest Green Rovers away at Worthing. That's going to be on the telly, and like you just mentioned, George, for those last games of qualifying for the first round proper of the FA Cup. So we'll be tuning into those, no doubt speaking about them in future episodes. But a bit of a longer one today. Appreciate you listening. See you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.